Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the hidden wonders of the natural world. Today, we're exploring a connection that, maybe at first glance, seems utterly improbable. We're talking about deep, mutualistic partnerships between animals and fungi. I mean, what could a fungus possibly do for an animal that would lead them to evolve such intricate, codependent lives? And
hmm
really, what's in it for the fungi? They often just seem to compete for resources, right?
It's a fantastic question. And the answer is, well, they reveal some of biology's most ingenious solutions. We're talking
Ah,
about relationships that have literally sculpted entire ecosystems over millions of years. And they're often driven by these fundamental challenges that, honestly, neither partner could easily overcome alone.
absolutely. So our mission today is to unpack a really fascinating chapter from Bryce Kendrick's The Fifth Kingdom. We're focusing specifically on mutualistic symbioses between animals and fungi. We're going to dive into how these incredible alliances help animals, particularly with one huge, almost universal problem. They just can't digest tough plant materials like cellulose and lignin.
Yeah.
And of course, how the fungi benefit in return. We'll explore a whole spectrum of these partnerships, from the world's most impressive insect farmers to more subtle but just as critical underground alliances. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding these surprising connections.
Yeah, and to really appreciate the why behind these symbioses, we first need to get a handle on that core animal dilemma. Almost all animals, including us, simply lack the enzymes needed to break down cellulose and lignin. Those are the main components giving plants their structure. So imagine a world just overflowing with plant life, this massive potential food source.
But you can't unlock it.
Exactly. You can't get the nutrition out.
It's like having a fantastic meal right in front of you, but absolutely no fork.
Yeah.
So, animals have evolved some truly clever strategies to deal with this. The first one we could maybe call the foragers. This is fairly straightforward. Think about detritivores in streams, creatures feeding on dead organic matter. They don't digest the plants
Yeah.
themselves. Instead, they kind of wait for specialized water-dwelling fungi, amphibious, and aeroaquatic hyphomycetes is the term to do the hard work. They break down the plant remains first.
And then the animals just come along and eat the fungal bits, the hyphae and spores. The fungi basically act as natural pre-digesters.
Making the tough stuff edible, okay.
Exactly. Then there's a second common solution, the internal digesters. This involves an animal basically hosting an entire microbiome inside itself. Lots of herbivores, like cows and even some termites, have these huge populations of cellulolytic microorganisms, bacteria, protozoans living in their guts.
Like a little internal factory.
Pretty much a living fermenting factory. They eat the plants, their internal guests do the digestion, and the animal absorbs the nutrients.
Okay, but here's where it gets really, really interesting and where we'll spend most of our time today. There's a third, incredibly sophisticated strategy, the cultivators. This is where certain social insects, like mound-building termites in Africa and Asia, and the really famous leaf-cutting ants of Central and South America,
Mm-hmm.
well, they've taken things to a completely different level.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just host microbes inside or wait for fungi to show up. They actively farm specific fungi in specialized protected gardens.
Yeah, it's astonishing. They establish these pure cultures of very specific fungi they've co-evolved with. They make sure the fungus gets the right food, the right moisture. And what's even more impressive is the care they take. They actively weed out any contaminants, any other fungi or bacteria.
Wow.
And the fungus, it gets this amazing treatment, a protected home, endless tailored food. In return, the ants and termites become exclusively mycophagous. That means they only eat fungi.
Only the fungus.
Only the fungus. The fungi act as bioconverters, turning indigestible wood or leaves into highly nutritious fungal biomass. That's their sole food source. It's basically agriculture, but it predates human farming by millions of years.
That's incredible. Let's really unpack this with maybe the most famous example.
Yeah.
The leaf-cutting ants. The biologist E.O. Wilson, he described encountering atacephalotes, the salva ant, in the New World tropics. He called them a prime consumer of fresh vegetation, rivaled only by humans, actually, and a major agricultural pest.
And it's the sheer spectacle of their foraging that's just
Yeah.
captivating. Wilson talks about seeing them at dusk, these brick red ants, maybe a quarter-inch long, covered in little spines, just pouring out of the forest. Within minutes, what starts as a trickle becomes twin rivers of tens of thousands of ants running 10 or more abreast.
The visuals is just amazing, isn't it? You can picture them streaming up trees, using their sharp mandibles like scissors to cut out pieces of leaves and petals.
Yeah, little semicircles.
And then carrying these fragments back over their heads like little parasols. Wilson says at peak activity, the trails are a tumult of ants bobbing and weaving past each other like miniature mechanical toys. It's just
Mhm.
this incredible coordinated chaos.
And to really grasp the scale, he does this calculation. Imagine a human-sized ant, 6 feet tall. It would run 10 miles at 16 miles an hour. That's less than a 4-minute mile.
Whoa.
Then it picks up a 750-pound burden and speeds back towards the nest at 15 miles an hour.
Carrying 750 pounds.
Yeah. Astonishing endurance and strength, repeated constantly by just one insect.
So how do these tiny marathoners navigate all these bustling highways?
It's all about chemical communication. They're guided by this incredibly potent chemical trail, a pheromone they secrete from their sting. To us, maybe a faint grassy or fruity smell. But to the ants, it's an ichor of extraordinary power. Get this. A single milligram, barely enough to cover a letter on a page, could excite billions of workers or lead a column 3 times around the world.
Billions. That's almost unbelievable.
It really highlights how different their world is. They aren't following a liquid line on the ground. Instead, the trail substance comes to them as like a cloud of molecules diffusing through the air. They constantly sweep their antenna back and forth, detecting these odor molecules.
So their antennae are the key.
Absolutely. Packed with thousands of sensors, constantly monitoring the chemical swirl. While we live mainly by sight and sound, social insects exist mostly by smell and taste. They're chemical beings, really.
And this chemical world allows for incredible precision, right?
Totally. If an ant makes a wrong turn, its antenna instantly pick up the change in the odor cloud. In just thousandths of a second, it corrects its course, pulling back into the trail. They also smell each other with their antenna to recognize colony members. If an ant doesn't have the right colony odor signature,
Attack
at once. Sometimes spraying alarm chemicals, too. It's a very sophisticated, scent-based security system.
Okay, so they follow this chemical highway home, deep underground.
Right down these tortuous channels that can go 15 feet or more below the surface, ending in the fungus gardens.
And this is where the leafcutter economy really kicks into high gear, with this amazing division of labor, all based on size.
Exactly. The big foragers, maybe housefly size, they cut the leaves outside, but they're too big and clumsy for the delicate work inside.
Okay, so who takes over?
Slightly smaller workers clip the leaves into tiny fragments like a millimeter across. Then, even smaller ants crush and mold these fragments into moist pellets. They carefully insert these pellets into the garden mass.
The garden mass. What does that look like?
It can be anywhere from fist size to as big as a human head. Kendrick describes it as resembling a gray cleaning sponge, all riddled with channels. And the assembly line goes down even further, to the smallest, most numerous workers. They delicately patrol the beds of fungal strands, constantly probing, licking, and meticulously plucking out any alien mold spores or bits of rogue hyphae. True gardenals.
Dedicated fungal gardeners. And on that sponge, what's the fungus doing?
The symbiotic fungus spreads out like a white frost, sending its hyphae into that leaf paste. Its job is to digest the cellulose and proteins that the ants can't handle.
And the ants eat. What exactly? Not the leaves.
Never the leaves directly. They are exclusively mycophagous. They eat these special nutrient-rich swellings the fungus produces on its hyphae. They're called gongulidia. Think of them as little edible fungal fruits or vegetables that the ants cultivate and harvest.
Wow. Purpose-grown food.
Exactly. And the care they take to keep it pure is astounding. If you take a garden out of the colony, it gets overgrown by other fungi and bacteria almost immediately.
So the ants must be actively managing it.
Very actively. It strongly suggests they use chemical inhibitors, probably in their saliva and anal fluid, to suppress unwanted microbes and specifically promote their fungus partner, usually a Leucoagaricus or Lepiota species. It's constant chemical warfare against contamination.
And it gets even more complicated, doesn't it? There's a third player.
Yeah, this was a relatively recent discovery. The ants' gardens are vulnerable to a parasitic mold, a kind of fungal weed called Escovopsis. But the ants carry Streptomyces bacteria, often on specific parts of their bodies. These bacteria produce antibiotics that help control the Escovopsis.
No way. So it's a 3-partner symbiosis. Ants, their fungus, and protective bacteria.
Precisely. A microscopic arms race managed by this complex alliance. It's incredible layers of coevolution.
Connecting this back to the big picture, a full-size colony is just enormous.
Colossal. 3 to 4 million workers,
Hmm.
occupying maybe 3,000 or more underground chambers. The mound of excavated earth can be 20 feet across, and they consume more vegetation than any other animal group in the American tropics, causing over $1 billion in damage yearly.
$1 billion. No wonder the early Portuguese settlers called Brazil the Kingdom of the Ants.
It makes sense. And at the heart of this kingdom is the queen, a giant insect the size of a newborn mouse. She can live 10 to 20 years, producing over 20 million offspring. Basically an eating and egg-laying machine.
And the workers and new queens. They have the same genes.
Yeah, the size difference is all about how they're treated and fed as larvae. When a virgin queen takes her nuptial flight, she mates with multiple males midair, then lands, breaks off her wings, and digs a new nest. And here's the crucial bit. She carries a wad of fungal strands in a special pocket in her mouth.
The starter culture.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the vital inoculum for her new garden. She lays eggs, feeds some to the first larvae, they become the first workers, and they start cultivating the fungus, a pre-packaged civilization kit.
Which brings us to this idea of the superorganism.
Right. The colony isn't directed by the queen like a leader or command center. Instead, the social master plan is distributed among all the workers. Each ant does specific tasks based on its size and age, and somehow it all fits together perfectly.
The whole society acts as a brain.
With the workers as its nerve cells, essentially. It really challenges our human-centric ideas about intelligence and control. Immense efficiency from distributed instinctual tasks, and evolutionary master clockwork.
It's just phenomenal. But while the leafcutters are maybe the most dramatic example, this kind of partnership isn't unique, right? Other species have found similar solutions.
Absolutely. Their story is incredibly sophisticated, but nature's found other ways. Across the globe, other species have developed equally remarkable, if sometimes less obvious, partnerships.
Okay, so it's not just about farming leaves. What else is out there?
Well, head over to the Old World, Africa, Asia, and you find the fungus-growing termites. This is a totally separate, independent evolution of fungus cultivation. Parallel evolution.
Wow. And how do they differ from the ants?
Well, like the ants, these termites lack the gut microbes, the protozoans, that many other termites use to digest wood, so they need the fungi. Their mounds, the termitaria, can be huge, 6 meters tall, but the critical difference is how they make the garden.
How so?
They eat the wood and plant debris first, and then their fungus gardens are made entirely from their fecal material.
From their droppings.
Yep. It's an incredibly efficient recycling system. The fungi then break down this pre-processed material further, and unlike the ant fungi, which rarely fruit, these termite fungi, like Termitomyces striatus, actually produce big edible mushrooms above ground during the rainy season.
People eat those, right?
Highly prized in many parts of the tropics. So the symbiosis doesn't just feed the termites, it creates a food source for other species, including us, shows how these partnerships ripple through the ecosystem.
Fascinating. The fungus feeds the termites, and then it feeds humans too. What about partnerships where the fungus provides something maybe more specialized than just bulk food?
Good question. Look at wood-boring beetles, like scolidids, and their ambrosia fungi. These beetles carry the fungi in special pockets or organs called microbiota. Basically, little fungal spore suitcases.
So when the female beetle drills into a tree to lay eggs, she's planting a fungus garden.
Exactly. She inoculates the wood tunnel with the fungus grows, colonizing the wood, and the beetle larvae. They feed exclusively on this fungal growth, the ambrosia. They can't digest the wood itself.
Ah, so the fungus makes the wood tunnel habitable and nutritious for the young.
Precisely. And before the adult females leave to find a new tree, they apparently rock back and forth to make sure their microbiota get fully loaded with fungal spores for the next generation. It's like packing a lunchbox and nursery kit all in one.
That's foresight.
Yeah.
Okay, what about more unusual roles? Maybe protection?
Definitely. There's a group called the Septobasidialis fungi. They grow on plants, always associated with scale insects. It's a really weird kind of balanced mutualism, but with a definite trade-off.
Balanced how? Sounds ominous.
Well, the fungus actually parasitizes some of the scale insects under its mat. They become dwarfed, sterile, but they keep feeding, providing nutrients to the fungus.
Oh, that doesn't sound very mutualistic for those individuals.
For them, no. But here's the twist. The tough fungal mat that covers them also completely protects other healthy scale insects underneath it from predators and parasitic wasps. So the insect population as a whole benefits from the protection, even though some individuals are sacrificed to maintain the fungus.
Wow. Individual sacrifice for colony-wide protection. and the
Yeah.
complex, a kind of communal defense strategy brokered by the fungus.
It really makes you think about cost-benefit at the population level in nature. And moving to even more subtle internal helpers, think about anobid beetles, the ones that live in wood. They have special pouches in their midgut called mycotomes, and these are packed with yeast-like fungi, genus Symbiotaphrina.
Okay, so internal symbionts this time, not external gardens. What are these yeasts doing?
They're absolutely vital. The fungus provides essential vitamins and amino acids. It helps the beetles recycle nitrogen, which is really scarce in wood. Experiments show that if you remove these fungi, the beetles just can't grow, even on their normal wood diet.
So they're providing critical nutrients the beetles can't get otherwise.
Exactly. Fundamental building blocks for life in a really tough environment. Sometimes the most crucial partnerships are the ones happening inside.
Okay, and finally, there are examples that are less about living together, but still show dependence.
Right. Maybe less direct, but clear dependence nonetheless. Think of California red-backed voles. Their diet is almost exclusively fungi that fruit underground hypotenuse fungi, like truffles and their relatives, genus Rhizopogon.
They just eat underground fungi.
Pretty much. Now, the voles passing through their gut helps disperse the fungal spores, so the fungus benefits too. But the vole's reliance is extreme, and this is really critical for conservation, like with the highly endangered Gilbert's potoroo in Western Australia. It also lives almost exclusively on these hypogous fungi.
So saving the potoroo means saving its fungal food source
Yeah,
and the habitat that supports it.
absolutely. It shows how even seemingly simple feeding habits can be incredibly specialized and become a vital link for an entire species' survival.
So pulling it all together,
Huh.
what really stands out from all these diverse partnerships, we've gone from these huge ant and termite agricultural empires run by chemical signals and assembly lines, to fungal mats offering protection, to tiny yeast providing essential vitamins inside a beetle.
Yeah, and the consistent theme is that these relationships solve fundamental biological problems, especially getting enough nutrients or surviving in challenging places. They achieve things collaboratively that would be incredibly difficult, maybe impossible, for one organism alone.
It really felt like a profound lesson in biological innovation. The toughest problems getting food, staying safe, often get solved not just by individual struggle, but by evolving together, by collaboration. It kind of blurs the lines between a single organism and a functioning ecosystem, doesn't it?
It really does. And it definitely makes you wonder, what other unexpected alliances are out there? What partnerships are we just completely unaware of?
Yeah, what subtle, essential interactions might be happening all around us, just beyond our immediate perception, shaping the world in ways we're only just starting to grasp.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the truly fascinating world of animal-fungus symbioses. We hope it sparked your curiosity and maybe left you with a fresh perspective on the hidden connections that make our natural world work.